Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect, Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right, another beautiful day, Pittsburgh, PA. Right, grateful indeed for this beautiful day, for all of you. Thank you for chiming in. I love you all. The only thing that I look in the sky and take note of on is perhaps not the best presence, is the presence of those chemtrails that already at about 6:45 a.m. already at work. Well, that's all right. That's the old paradigm, struggling to hang on. It's falling away. It's dying away. Falling away like giant shards of broken glass. Word life. All right. So that makes me think about this video. I'll try to keep it pretty quick. And this is touching back on the last subject or previous subject about the Maya, the big illusion, right? So we looked at it from one perspective, and I'll look at it another. And I spoke briefly about how many indigenous folks around the world who have always remained in touch, right? Not only with the land, with the planet, but with that very spiritual center that many of us have lost, right? And the reason it's referred to or viewed upon as an illusion, right, that we're living now, is simply because we don't have a complete view of the real world. Now that much is scientific fact, because with the five senses that we typically rely on so heavily, we are literally not able to perceive most of the bandwidth, right, or most of the spectrum that is actually there, right? We're only able to perceive a certain amount of visual stimuli. I don't want to necessarily put percentages on it, right? Although science does approach that in some levels. But we're only able to perceive a fairly small percentage of what existence actually is, using these five senses, you know, our two eyes and that visual cortex, our sense of feel, taste, touch, smell. We really have it backward without saying it in any more harsh terms. We have ourselves truly invested in the physical realm as essentially the totality of existence. and it's just the opposite, right? As I said, we're actually experiencing a very small part of existence, a different way of looking at that, and how small a portion of existence we're actually experiencing is when you start to take dimensional science, dimensionality into account. You think about it, we're used to perceiving the third, fourth dimension, right? Even the fourth dimension is somewhat of a revelation to us, right? When science affirms this as well, those in the spiritual communities and actually in scientific communities will at least say the community of scientists who work frequently in the quantum disciplines, right? Quantum mechanics, quantum biology, etc. They'll affirm that we in fact exist only, or perceive only, our existence on a third, fourth dimensional level, and that there is in fact many, if not infinite, dimensions or dimensional states or levels or realms of existence. So, and many of these realms overlap our own state of existence or realm, right? So, if we know that to be true, and we know that what we are experiencing is actually only a small part of reality, what would you say to a person who bases their existence off of a very small portion of reality? Well, unfortunately, it's quite common that we might say that that person isn't all there, right? Isn't what many would compute as sane, right? Or we might say that individual is mentally challenged, has in fact some mental illness, or just plain old call them crazy, right? Well, if that's the case, what are we? On a whole, right? On this planet. What are people on a whole on this planet, given that we've based our entire existence on such a small portion of what reality or existence actually is? All right? Now, if you stop and think about that, then it's completely fitting to say that we're living in illusion, right? The Maya. All of this is what you would or could term as an illusion. I personally don't like that terminology. I don't refer to it in that way. I understand why many would. For me, it seems a little bit more apt to say that existence for us is not an illusion as much as it's just a small portion of what's real, right? So I don't think that we live in an illusory existence as much as, again, we're not experiencing the entire picture, so to speak, right? And that is the Maya, right? Now, a different level of how that works, or a different way of perceiving that, or you could even say a different scale of reference. I'm finding different ways I might want to term this, right? Um, what the elites have constructed and have subjected and subjugated the rest of the world to live under is an illusion, right? Is its own Maya. We do not have to live the way we do, right? We do not have to live in these broken, finite, linear systems, right? We, in fact, are fully capable of experiencing a much greater reality, a much more fulfilling existence on this planet when we escape the Maya that the elites have us collectively submerged in, right? But the big Maya that all of um, all of this, the inhabitants of this planet are essentially living in, and all the inhabitants of this realm or dimensional state are existing in, is only, again, a small portion of true existence. But when you look at it from that perspective, or when you talk about the big Maya in those terms, now you're talking about something that's, I'll make a distinct difference between the two, right? The illusory existence that the elites have us submersed in, right, is certainly toward the detriment of the people on this planet, right? Except for those very small number of elites. All right. The big Maya, right? When you take on a much broader spiritual and a much broader dimensional point of view, the big Maya is to your benefit because it actually functions and serves as the modality for your spirit to mature on this physical plane, because there are many aspects of vulnerability that you simply would not be able to experience as a spirit that you are able to experience in physical existence, thus giving you a bevy of experiences, of stimuli, of different situations that actually serve as that crucible to mold you into what you become through your spiritual maturation on this planet, right? And this is a process that happens lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Doesn't happen in one lifetime, folks. As far as we know, we live a great many lifetimes growing and maturing spiritually, right? Each lifetime getting us closer and closer to such a state of spiritual maturation that we can approach and embrace ascension, right? Okay. So that is what the Big Maya in much broader terms actually is. You can think of it as a training ground, right? Of our illusory, or what appears to be illusory existence, our we'll say watered down existence in reality serves as a training ground, right? As a crucible, as a modality for your spirit to be able to mature to ascension, right? Well, I shouldn't term it that way, because your spirit actually doesn't need to ascend. Ascension occurs when your physical body has then matured to the point that its interaction and interface with your spiritual self is at such a high vibrational frequency that ascension occurs, right? But your spirit does need to mature, and does need and uses these lifetimes to go through that maturation process. Each lifetime gives you different lessons, many lessons, obviously, and some of which just, what we would term as small or mundane lessons, and some of which extremely profound, but all of which serve to provide that spiritual maturation that you seek, right? Which is the whole reason why you make the decision as a spirit, and you do make the decision as a spirit to incarnate, right? You know before you incarnate what family you're going to be born into, the whole nine, right? You make that decision to incarnate. Each time you learn more and more, right? You carry different lessons with you that you learn from this collage of experiences, and that is how you spiritually mature, through usage of the Maya, right? Of the big illusion. That is a much more, I think, profound way of realizing and viewing what the Maya is, and how it actually serves and functions to our betterment, rather than how we